In previous episodes, I've shown that the CE approach is fundamentally exploratory and that this method is both rigorous and powerful. But this might leave you with a question. How does this fit with the traditional view that theory-driven confirmation is the gold standard? Today, we tackle that question directly. In experimental psychology, theory-driven confirmation is deeply respected, and for good reason. Inspired by the replication crisis, leading methodologists have championed tools like pre-registration to keep us honest, to ensure we're testing hypotheses and not just crafting stories to fit the noise. At first glance, our CE approach, with its openly exploratory nature, seems to stand in direct opposition to this. But I want to propose a different perspective. This isn't a conflict, it's an evolution. Both are ultimately driven by the same core principle: optimizing how we do science. The crucial insight is that the best method depends entirely on the scale of your investigation. A fatal flaw in a small study can become a trivial issue in a large one, and vice versa. The best way to understand this is through an analogy. Think of theory-driven confirmation in a small study as a sniper rifle. You take one precise, carefully aimed shot at a single target. The cost of control is low, but missing is disastrous. Not hitting unexpected targets is an acceptable trade-off. Now think of data-guided exploration in a large-scale study as a shotgun. You scatter many pellets to achieve broad coverage. Controlling every pellet is impossible, and missing with many of them is perfectly fine. The huge advantage is that you might hit unexpected and valuable targets. Now imagine applying the sniper's strategy, demanding precise control of every shot, to the shotgun's domain. Trying to aim every single pellet at a pre-specified target would be both impossibly difficult and utterly counterproductive. This is exactly what happens when we try to use a theory-driven confirmation approach in large-scale studies. Let's break down the costs and benefits. When we shift from small-scale to large-scale research, the landscape completely transforms. As discussed in Episode 8, confirmation faces two problems, and both become much worse when a study scales up. First, the lack of exploration. In a huge data set, the inability to find unexpected patterns becomes a massive opportunity cost. Second, factor design difficulty. Designing a confirmatory experiment that manipulates 10 or 20 factors becomes literally impossible. On the other hand, exploration also has two problems, but both become much smaller at scale. First, false positive risk. As discussed in Episode 9, with 40 million responses, we can use unbelievably strict statistical criteria, making false positives vanishingly rare. Second, inefficient testing. Wasting some data on uninformative conditions is a trivial cost when you have a massive data set. The benefit of broad coverage far outweighs this small inefficiency. So, to summarize, in small-scale studies, the problems with exploration are indeed much more serious than those with confirmation. That's why theory-driven confirmation is the right choice. However, when we scale up, confirmation now faces much more serious problems than exploration. That's why we must switch to data-guided exploration. This isn't just a theoretical argument, it's a lesson from history. This exact scale-dependent shift is what drove the AI revolution. AI research is overwhelmingly exploratory, relying on massive data sets and continuous iterative testing. And crucially, this highly exploratory field has largely avoided the replication crises that have plagued psychology. This suggests a profound lesson. The problem isn't exploration itself. The problem is exploration on an insufficient scale. With enough data, exploration becomes not just safe, but the most powerful engine for discovery we have. So, to conclude, exploration outperforms confirmation not absolutely, but conditionally. For small-scale studies, the sniper rifle of confirmation is absolutely the right tool. But for the large-scale, complex problems we face in psychology, the shotgun of exploration is not just better, it's essential. It allows us to overcome the limits of our own imaginations, to discover what we didn't think to look for, and to finally build theories with the richness they require. The CE approach doesn't abandon rigor. It redefines rigor for a new scale of science. In previous episodes, we've seen how CE bridges explanation and prediction, tames complexity, and creates a fairer, more objective science. But the advantages don't stop there. Next time, we'll reveal even more strengths of this approach. See you then.